I'm Mark.
And I'm Josh.
And this is Alter Ego Comics TV for the week of March 16th, 2016, the day after it was announced that there would be a new Indiana Jones movie, starring Harrison Ford and directed by Steven Spielberg. Let the rejoicing begin. Please note that nowhere in the press release was George Lucas's name. Ding! That sound effect in there. Okay, so cool stuff out this week, of course. We're here to give you our recommendations for what we think you should check out, as well as give you our top 5 Superman stories with Batman v Superman right around the corner.
Dawn of Justice.
Opening next week. What a great time to be a geek and a fan. We've got Daredevil Season 2 hitting Netflix this Friday, well today when you see this, and then Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice next week, and all kinds of cool comics, and a new Indiana Jones movie in 3 years.
Yeah.
Come on, Harrison Ford, hang in there. Okay, don't go flying that plane anyplace and crashing or anything. My pick this week, and it was a tough one, not a tough book, but it was tough to choose. International Iron Man #1 by Brian Michael Bendis with artwork by Alex Maleev. And this was not what I expected at all. Neither was it what Josh expected. I don't know if I should tell you what the content is so that you can kind of be surprised too. But it is very different from Bendis' other Iron Man book. I believe it's Invincible Iron Man.
Which is really good, because like when he had 2 Avengers books and 2 X-Men books, he had different casts to make the books seem different. So having tonal differences or story differences makes sense with 2 Iron Man books.
But rest assured, have no fear that you should pick this book up and you will be pleased. I don't think I'm going to tell you what it's about.
Not going to give him anything? You don't have
it's
to
a
give him
story
anything,
from Tony's past.
Well, there's a framing story in the present.
In the present, which we presume is
probably the
present. It says present. Yeah. But 95% of the book is a story of Tony's past, and long ago past.
Yeah, and it's stuff we've never seen before, or even been referenced to my recollection.
Yeah, so new stuff completely. It is great to see these two, Bendis and Maleev, working together again. If you watched one of our recent episodes where we talked about the top Daredevil stories, the Brian Michael Bendis, Alex Maleev Daredevil run is top notch, and having these guys reunited feels so good.
They do Moon Knight together too?
They did. The awesome Moon Knight series that no one liked except me.
Was Jones Maleev? Jessica Jones, Alias?
I think it was Michael Lark, but I could be wrong.
Maleev did the covers, that's what I...
Yes.
Okay.
So, International Iron Man should be a no-brainer for anybody reading Iron Man. Based on initial feedback from our customers, it sounds like most everybody that's reading the other book is going to pick this one up, and it's what I want. It's not a clone of the other Iron Man book. It's completely different and fresh, but still with all the awesomeness that Bendis brings as a writer.
And my pick of the week this week is Adventures of Archer and Armstrong #1, or as it says in the giant logo on the cover, just A+A. And this is written by Raffer Roberts with art by David LaFuente. And this is a great Archer and Armstrong story because it doesn't waste time retreading stuff that everybody already knows if they've been reading the series, but it's also very accessible to a new reader. The situation's set up in the dialogue as they go on. There's not a lot of wasted exposition, and you basically just get to see goofy superhero team-up hijinks, except for most of the book, there is not a superhero team-up. Armstrong is one of the Andy Patty brothers, the Eternal Warrior, Ivar the Time Walker, those dudes. And he's several thousand years old. He's kind of a hedonist. He runs about drinking and whatever elsing and having adventures. And he's teamed up with Josiah Archer. A young
Obadiah?
Obadiah?
Yeah.
Yeah, Josiah Bartlett was the
in
president.
book.
That's right, Obadiah.
Josiah Bartlett was the president
in the
West Wing.
In the West Wing, yeah.
Wow.
That's how my brain works sometimes. Weird names. He was raised in a fanatical cult essentially. And now he's teamed up. So he's very interesting because he's sort of a fish out of water. He's always sort of, even though he's not a man out of time, he's a man out of time. He's not familiar with a lot of the normal things we interact with. And putting those two together is awesome. And the story here is Armstrong has this bag of holding, essentially, if you're familiar with D&D, a giant bag with an interdimensional space, also like Mary Poppins' bag.
I have never seen Mary Poppins.
Oh, dude.
This is like I guess I was on actual TV when I revealed I'd never seen It's a Wonderful Life. And then one of our customers burned me a copy and gave it to me. So I've never seen to the best of my knowledge, I've never seen Mary Poppins. But carry on. I'm familiar. She has a bag. She flies with an umbrella.
Yeah.
Dick Van Dyke cleans chimneys.
So Armstrong has to go into his bag to retrieve something. Archer shows up, and bad things are coming out of his bag because it's a massive interdimensional space.
That's not my bag.
And so he has to go in after him, and there's just wacky hijinks. This is a lot of fun, and not enough people are reading Valiant's awesome material, and we're trying to help that out this week. If you buy Archer and Armstrong or A+A #1 at Alter Ego, you can bring it back within 7 days for store credit equal to what you paid for. So if you don't like
Only
it, bring it back.
Like it.
Right.
It's returnable if you don't like it.
That's what I'm saying. So no risk, just check it out because it's totally worth your time.
Yeah, kudos to Valiant for continuing to publish some really excellent comics, and for the life of me, I cannot figure out why people are not reading more Valiant comics. So there it is. Now, this next one for me, well, I'll just tell you what it is. Power Man and Iron Fist. Power Man and Iron Fist, #2, written by David Walker, artwork by Sanford Green. I almost didn't read this, just because I had other things to do, I had other books to read, and I was like, yeah, I really did like that first issue, but I don't know, can I take on another regular series to read? And I'm so glad that I did it. It was the last thing I read before I went to bed last night.
Fiddle Faddle.
I dreamt of Fiddle Faddle. I dreamt of Power Fist and Iron Man. Continues to be top notch. Just this team is fascinating to me. As someone that grew up in the 80s reading comics, Power Man and Iron Fist were like way down on my list of characters that I gave two craps about. The only time I read Power Man and Iron Fist is when there was like a Secret Wars crossover or something. One of my favorite characters popped into Power Man and Iron Fist. But it ran for over 150 issues, so
Wow.
Well, it started as Luke Cage Power Man, and then became Power Man and Iron Fist. So still, 150 issues is pretty impressive. And it's just so cool to see these guys in a current setting. And it's very humorous. It's got lots of familiar characters. In fact, there are 2 Spider Women that make an appearance in this issue. And it's very much like an Archer and Armstrong, or a Quantum and Woody, or a Deadpool versus Hawkeye, or it's kind of it's got a lot of humor. You can tell that these guys really care about each other, but Luke Cage is kind of being dragged back into this by Danny Rand, because Danny is rich and has nothing better to do than try and get his old partner back to bust chops. So I don't think that was a very good explanation, but I will just tell you that Power Man and Iron Fist is top notch, and you should be totally reading it.
Next up for me, we've got Spider-Woman #5, written by Dennis Hopeless with art by Javier Rodriguez. And this is, if you've been following Spider-Woman at all since the Secret Wars reboot or relaunch, she started the new series pregnant. She had the baby last issue, so this is her first issue as a mother. And it turns out that fighting supervillains and risking your life constantly is not sufficient training for caring for a newborn. And it's very, I don't want to say it's relatable because I don't have kids, but it seemed very human, and I really enjoyed it. It's great to see the way the characters in her life react to the changes in her and in her lifestyle, the way she kind of reconciles her superhero life, or, well, her future superhero life, because she's still on maternity leave from Uric and, why can't I think of her last name? Jessica Drew. Uric and Drew, the company that she and Ben Uric run. And it was just very, very fun. It was very well written. It was very evocative, I would imagine, of that experience. So I really liked it. And also, I like the moment you mentioned in
Power Man
and Iron Fist, where you have 2 Spider-Women show up, is a mirror of a scene with those 2 characters from either a previous issue of Spider-Woman or from Spider-Gwen, possibly. Which I think is very cool, because there's a lot of crossovers with the Marvel Universe, but most of the time they don't make a lot of sense. Like, you don't see the same scene from 2 different points of view in multiple books. You kind of get the idea that everyone just uses whoever they want, and they don't really worry about the logistics. It's not like when Stan was in charge. But to see one where it's kind of clearly the same moment in 2 books by 2 different writers kind of enhanced the connectedness of the universe for me, too.
And I was thinking something similar yet different when you were talking about this. So many of Marvel's current books stand on their own.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you don't have to read anything else. Like, we hope you do, and they hope you do. But if you want to read Spider-Woman, if you pick up the first couple issues and you're like, yeah, I'm really digging this, I want to stick with it, you don't have to jump around into other books unless you want to. Power Man and Iron Fist as well is a very good example. Hawkeye, you know, all these books are excellent on their own without having to necessarily be part of the larger Marvel canvas. So, good job, Marvel, I guess. I continue to love Huck by Mark Miller and Raphael Albuquerque. Not a whole lot more to say. This is issue number 5 of 6, so we're approaching the conclusion of the series. And, of course, there's a very cool movie poster tribute cover this issue featuring Ghostbusters. So it's Huckbusters. I ain't afraid of no Huck. Huck. When Huck is said and done, I hope you all check it out. If you're not checking it out in single issues, it's just a very kind of uplifting, feel-good story, and I hope we see a movie.
Over on the X front, we've got Extraordinary X-Men number 8, written by Jeff Lemire with art by Humberto Ramos. And this is the start of X-Men Apocalypse Wars. And when you want to start an apocalypse story, the first villain you're going to fight should be Sugar Man. If you don't know who Sugar Man is, Google it or ask your grandfather. Well, your father maybe.
Your older brother. I don't know.
Ask Mark.
Sugar Man was a 90s villain.
No, I remember him too, but I was
more your wheelhouse.
So yeah, I don't know what more you want.
So,
Apocalypse is on the cover. This is the start of something going on. We have some new mutant blips popping up on Cerebro, which is not supposed to be possible since the Inhumans Terrigen wave. And the X-Men, go check that out. And as always, in any X-Men,
it is worth pointing out that my understanding of Apocalypse Wars is that it is not a crossover. It's each series that it takes part in is a standalone issue. So you don't have to read 5 X-Men books to get the full Apocalypse Wars story.
So if you follow just Extraordinary, they'll tell this Apocalypse Wars story.
I could be wrong on that, but I'm 90% sure that I'm right, that I read this somewhere, that each issue of Apocalypse Wars is a standalone story within that title. So that's kind of cool. Another rinse and repeat sort of thing, Superman American Alien number 5 is out this week. This is 5 of 7, and this is Max Landis telling basically the story of Superman. The first issue was a very early story. It's a chronological thing where we're following Clark Kent, a.k.a. Superman, as he develops as a hero. And he's got a funky costume. It looks more like Batman in this issue.
Well, Batman was the only active superhero at the time, right?
Yeah, I guess.
So.
Artwork by Francis Manapul, and I really have to tip my hat to Mr. Manapul because I think this might be the best thing that he's ever drawn. It's amazing. So, again, if you haven't listened to us in the past telling you to pick this up, I can't help you. But you can check out each one of these issues. Each one is a standalone story taking place at a different point in Clark's life. But when this is out in trade, I think we're going to get to our top Superman stories in just a minute or two. But I would definitely, we got 2 more issues to go, but I would think this is going to make my new top 5 list when everything is said and done.
And still in the super wheelhouse, we've got Superman number 50, written by a friend of the store, Gene Luen Yang, with art by Howard Porter?
Yes.
Howard Porter. Oh, God.
And all those people.
And everyone else. Aaron Lopestri, Aaron Cooter. God, that is a lot of Joshua Williamson.
They're like
that's Emerald City Comic Con. That's not the credits. Okay, everything's fine. Your page confused me. It has Superman on it. Anyway, Howard Porter. We're professionals.
This is a high point in our years of doing videos. We've confused an ad for a comic convention with the title page of a comic. Well done, DC.
Go
me.
Done. This is functionally the end of Superman in the New 52. This is the last issue written by Gene Luen Yang. The next 2 issues of all of the Super Books, Action, Superman, 50. I'm sorry, I should say 51, 52. Not all of them are caught up yet. Is going to be a crossover story written by our boy
Peter
Tomasi. That's going to cross between all of them, 2 issues in each. So this is sort of the wrapping up of the truth, justice, grounded stuff and it was good. I was satisfied with the ending. It's set up. He's back in the costume, and it was good. I enjoyed it.
Alrighty. Speaking of Superman, there's a little movie opening up soon. So we've done this before, but if you're new to the show or if you just need a refresher, just like we do sometimes, we're going to run through our top 5 Superman stories. And we will start with, I go first. Superman Batman Volume 1 by Jeff Loeb, Ed McGuinness, and Michael Turner. And this is one volume. It used to be 2 volumes. And it's only $19.99, which is amazing. Superman Batman was published many, many moons ago. But it's about, not that it really matters, but 2003. There we go. So, wow, that was a long time ago. And Jeff Loeb was at the top of his game with this. He tells a story of Superman and Batman who are very much written as brothers that love each other but don't always get along with each other, have different viewpoints. The first storyline is them taking on a bunch of superpowered people that the government sends to bring them down, and there was an animated movie that was made of it, so you could check that out, but I would recommend the comic. The comic is much better. So Loeb and McGuinness do the first storyline. The second one is one of my favorite stories of all time. It's the return of Supergirl to the DC Universe, written by Jeff Loeb with artwork by Michael Turner, and I love it so much that I have the artist edition of it sitting on a shelf over there in giant size, black and white format. I don't know if I can put into words how awesome this volume is. A whole lot of beautiful fun is the pull quote on the cover, and I think that sums it up. If you want to read stories where Superman and Batman are friends with each other rather than punching each other in the face, and they've known each other for decades, and they've got this great relationship, then this is the series to read.
I read a lot of Superman and Batman comics before this came out, and I've read a lot since. But in my mind, when I think of a Superman Batman comic, Loeb's style with the different word balloon boxes and the same thing from 2 points of view, their contrasting opinions, that is Superman Batman to me. So yeah, it's amazing.
They have it's the thought balloon. So you have what Bruce is thinking in a blue box and what Clark is thinking in a yellow or an orange box, and just really, really solid stuff.
First up for me, we've got Superman for All Seasons, written by Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale. If you've been paying attention, those are also the people that did Batman the Long Halloween, Daredevil Yellow, Spider-Man Blue.
This is the 3rd week in a row that we've hit a Jeff Loeb, Tim Sale book.
There was a period where they were the best of the best, and this is an example of that in true fashion. What I really like about this is kind of like the Max Landis book we were talking about, is Superman for All Seasons is essentially an anthology. It was a 4-issue mini, and each issue is a different point in Clark's life represented by a season, but it's also narrated by a different character in his life. So, this first season in Smallville is narrated by Lana Lang. The first one in Metropolis is narrated by Luthor. Different characters narrate each season, and it's just sort of cutting down to the core of what it is to be Superman, how he's seen by these people in his world, what his life is like, and it's just really good. It's great characterization, it's great relationships. And I think the angle of having these characters in his life narrated really enhances the telling of these tales, because we've seen lots of things where Superman saves a family, but to see what Luthor thinks as this happens to, even though he hates him and doesn't believe him, he also has this kind of admiration for him because he respects the relentlessness of Superman, and it's great.
It is. Next up, you may need to hunt for this one, is Superman, the Man of Steel by John Byrne. Oh. And this is it was a 6-issue miniseries that came out post-Crisis and was basically...
That's the first one. Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Crisis on Infinite Earths, yes. And basically revamped Superman's origin for the first time. And this gave us the modern version of Superman.
Yeah, the same way Batman Year One is the definitive origin post-Crisis, this Man of Steel
Superman
was
Man of
Byrne's.
Steel is the definitive origin of Superman for readers of this day and age. Very much, the representation that we had on the TV show Smallville, where Clark actually is a football star in high school, and he wasn't using his powers, but, he was a regular kid. And then, he goes to Metropolis, and he is not the bumbling Christopher Reeve Superman. He's more confident and that sort of thing. You get to see his first interaction with Batman. You get to see his first interaction with Wonder Woman and Lois and the whole Metropolis gang. Bizarro is there, and lots of other villains as well. Really good stuff. Again, Byrne at the top of his game in 1986, 87, give or take. So Superman Man of Steel was a self-contained 6-issue miniseries that then launched into an ongoing series. But if you want to read kind of a modern take on Superman's origin, that's the one to go to.
Now for something completely different. I guess it's not the only Elseworlds, but Superman Red Sun is an excellent example of what you can do with an Elseworld. This is maybe the best argument for Elseworlds. It's a story that could never happen in the main DC universe.
Explain Elseworlds, because nowhere on the Elseworlds has been removed.
Oh, did they stop
DC
putting it on the
lexicon.
stuff?
Yeah.
So a book that takes place out of the DC continuity is an Elseworlds title. It was very big in the mid-90s.
Yeah, it was an imprint at DC.
Really?
You had.
I knew
they
did a bunch of them. I know it was an imprint.
There were a bunch of. Well, an imprint in that it was on the books and
it was a logo.
As an Elseworlds story.
So you knew if you saw that it was completely. You could throw it out the window. Each one was self-contained. They weren't a continuous universe, although there are a few that are set in the same kind of pocket universe. And they just basically Elseworlds are a fanboy's dream. You want to see Batman with the Green Lantern ring? Elseworlds was where it happened. You want to see Batman's a vampire? Batman works as a priest for the church, fighting the enemies of the Catholic Church. Just anything is possible in an Elseworlds book. And this one is by Mark Miller with art by Dave Johnson. And this is if Superman landed on Earth 12 hours later. This kind of like the Alan Davis Another Nail, or Nail, JLA The Nail, is a story about how a small change can have dramatic effects. 12 hours means that Clark didn't land in Kansas, he landed in the Soviet Russia. And it turns out that socialism works a lot better if you have someone who can, lift a freight train by himself and fly across the country in seconds. It's the first... Actually, I don't know about the chronology of that. It's the first Mark Miller book I remembering that I thought was really, really great. Miller's kind of the standard now. This is... this just has the old printing. But, 2003. That'd be before Enemy of the State, Wolverine? Doesn't really matter.
It's close.
It's Mark Miller. It's the start of his form. You also get... It's not just Superman. We've got Wonder Woman. We've got Batman, who's a Bolshevik fighting the Red Power. You've got Hal Jordan, who's still a U.S. Air Force pilot fighting in the Cold War, but he's also has the Lantern Ring. And it's just epic. And I think this has the best ending of any Mark Miller book I've ever read. I love the concept of this book. I enjoy the execution, but the ending... It was just perfect for me. It was almost like a Twilight Zone ending, where you see something shifted a few degrees to the left, and it's super awesome.
Yeah, definitely.
And this has been one of our best-selling Superman books for years at Alter Ego. It's in our top 25.
We will wrap things up by cheating a little bit, and we're going to go with Kingdom Come as the fifth best Superman story. Because Superman is arguably the main character in this story.
Oh, yeah. I don't even think it's arguable.
Yeah.
I mean, the story starts with them pulling him out of retirement, and it follows... I mean, he's definitely...
Kingdom Come was also listed as an Elseworld story when it originally came out. A lot of people feel like it is the future of the DC universe. Much like The Dark Knight Returns, even though that was pre-Elseworlds, people felt that was a future Batman story. This is a future DC universe story. Where superheroes are kind of on the outs because the bad guys are really bad, and there have been some pretty horrific events that have happened. There's a new generation of heroes that have kind of no respect for what has come before. They don't act like heroes.
It's Superman versus Cable.
Yeah.
He's got a metal arm. He's got a glowy eye. This is Alex Ross saying, "Screw you, Rob Liefeld."
I don't know. Maybe. It's
My
not
God.
Alex Ross, it's Mark Waid.
Right, but Wade wrote it, but yeah. Ross was the impetus, is my understanding.
So if you want to see what your favorite DC heroes are going to look like in 40 years maybe, this is the book to read. And it is... By the first one I talked about said a whole lot of beautiful fun. Kingdom Come is a whole lot of beautiful fun. Alex Ross does an amazing job. I mean, this is my favorite Alex Ross work, and I don't think that's a surprise to anyone. Just all kinds of awesomeness. Batman, Bruce Wayne is old and decrepit and is running a bat army of robots out of the cave.
Barry is running around Central City so fast that he's just everywhere at once.
He is essentially like the Speed Force. I mean, he's the Blur. You've got Alan Scott, Green Lantern. I don't remember what happened to Hal. Hal's not even in here, I don't think.
Yeah.
Wonder Woman is very militaristic. She's got this relationship with Clark, who has left the public eye because he feels like he failed his city. He's Green Arrow. Shazam being mind controlled and having to be brought back from the brink by Superman. References to the Legion of Doom from the old Super Friends cartoon. Just all kinds of awesomeness. Go ahead.
Well, no, I would say we were talking about the changes in characters. It's not just the changes in characters. Like, Dark Knight Returns has older versions of some of the Justice League members, but like Kingdom Come gives you like the next generation. In the Absolute Edition, there's actually genealogies for these covers that show, well, this Robin is this grandson of these two people, and like there's a whole world that Wade has built here, with generations of heroes and things moving around, and it's just fascinating to jump into.
It is. It won 5 Eisner Awards and Harvey Awards, including Best Limited Series and Best Artist when it came out. When did this come out? It came out right after Christopher Reeve passed away, because there's a dedication to Christopher Reeve.
The trade did, but the book is the comic.
1996.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh my gosh, it's an anniversary year.
Yeah.
They should really do something.
So that's after Marvel's, though, right?
Yes, Marvel's came first.
94?
Because Ross's art style is much more developed in this than it was in Marvel's. Marvel's is really good, but we're getting sidetracked. So Kingdom Come, if you have not read this is essential reading for any DC Comics fan. One of the greatest comic book stories of all time is the pull quote on the front of this one, and I would have to agree. So there you have it, our picks for the top 5 Superman stories. We've given you lots to digest over the last 3 weeks. Top 5 Daredevil, top 5 Batman, top 5 Superman. Rush out and get any or all of those, and then lock yourself in a room and read them, and then watch the Daredevil series on Netflix, and then go see Dawn of Justice. And then come back and tell us what you thought. So if you liked this week's episode, as always, we appreciate if you give us a thumbs up for the episode and share it with anybody that you think would benefit from hearing about comics that are awesome. If we left out your favorite Superman story, we apologize. And let us know in the comments below what that was. Thanks for watching. We will see you next time.